I'm Johnny Cashflow, and today we're going to talk about the demonetization of one of my videos. Hold on tight. So this week, my video titled Johnny Cashflow Defends UVA Professor Douglas Muir was demonetized. I sent YouTube a message that said, please provide a specific reason for the demonetization of my video, quote, Johnny Cashflow defends UVA Professor Douglas Muir. If it is in violation of a YouTube policy, please provide the specific portion of the video which is in violation and which policy. If it is determined that the video is not advertiser friendly, then please specify which portion of the video is not advertiser friendly. Please do not respond with a generic response such as, please see terms and service. I've read through all of the available information and am requesting specific determinations for my content, not a form email directing me to a page that won't provide me with any specific information. Thank you for your time, Johnny Cashflow. To that, I received a form email, just like I asked him not to provide me, which was from Andy of the YouTube team that said, hello. Due to the sensitive nature of the content in your video, we've decided that it's not appropriate for advertising at this time. So I responded back, Andy, thank you for the prompt response, but as I requested specifics, would you please be willing to provide them? What specifically about my video was of sensitive nature? Furthermore, what specifically made my content too sensitive to monetize? While other videos, such as MTV Decoded's videos, quote, are cracker, white trash, and redneck racist, and quote, why does MTV's Decoded hate white people not demonetized? I'm assuming that they're not demonetized. That is an assumption that I am making. I will admit that one. So again, would you please answer my request? Below is a copy and paste from my original request, which you clearly either did not read or did not care to address my concern. I go on to quote what I just read you. Again, I request your assistance in specifying exactly what is sensitive in my video and how that differs from other content which is monetized by other channels. This way, I can ensure not to make content which YouTube deems inappropriate and not advertiser friendly. And I can create less sensitive content such as, quote, the problem with white beauty standards and, quote, the surprising racist history of Caucasian. Which were two other videos by the great MTV Decoded. Thank you, respectively, Johnny Cashflow. That was 20 hours ago, so that was on November 5th. I've yet to receive a response from YouTube. So let's do a quick recap on that video so we can tease out exactly what it is that I posted that may have been of a sensitive nature. Okay, so first I discussed freedom of speech and how important it is for all individuals, students, professors, just any citizen to have the ability to speak their minds, speak their opinions, and be safe in those opinions from legal actions or political actions or any kind of actions which would otherwise affect their careers. I discussed professors who have advocated for violence, like Melissa Click. I then went on to explain how Black Lives Matter is, in fact, very comparable to the KKK. I used specific facts to back up what I said, even cited the U.S. Code for Domestic Terrorism, and went line by line. So how is it that using facts to back up an opinion, defending somebody else's freedom of speech, considered too sensitive to talk about, while other people can openly discuss such things as are cracker, white trash, and redneck racist, and why does MTV's Decoded hate white people? Just the fact that Francisca Ramsey had to even make that video should be self-evident that their videos are very much targeted against white people. So just the fact that they had to make that video should prove to everybody that they are completely racist. But do you think they're demonetized? I don't think they are. And then lastly, in the conversation on that video, I discussed what I believe that a person should do when faced with censorship. And that was to stand your ground, okay? This is not just an idle thing that I say. This isn't something that that I just say for other people to do it, and then I'll just shut up and color. So in that spirit, today we're going to discuss how exactly Black Lives Matter is exactly like the KKK. Stand by, motherfuckers. This one's gonna get fucking heavy. Alright, so number one. Both were started by the Democrat Party, right? In 1866, the KKK was started and founded by the Democrat Party as a southern resistance to the Republican Party's Reconstruction-era policies aimed at establishing political and economic equality for blacks and for recently freed slaves. It started out as an underground thing. So, I'm reading from History.com. Though Congress passed legislation designed to curb Klan terrorism, the organization saw its primary goal, the reestablishment of white supremacy, fulfilled through Democratic victories in state legislatures across the South in the 1870s. After a period of decline, white Protestant nativist groups revived the Klan in the early 20th century, burning crosses and staging rallies, parades, and marches, denouncing immigrants, Catholics, Jews, blacks, and organized labor. The civil rights movement of the 1960s also saw a surge of the KKK activity, including bombings of black schools, churches, and violence against black and white activists in the South. Now then, let's pair that up with today. The Black Lives Matter was started, supported by, and really motivated by certain shills, Democrat shills, such as Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson, right? Who came out and started really pushing the hands up, don't shoot lie, which we've disproven. They push this radical lying narrative in order to push a racial narrative and to spark at the heart of this heated populace on a message that they know will resonate. And this is no different than what occurred back in the late 1800s, where Booker T. Washington was quoted to say, "There's a class of colored people who make a business of keeping the troubles, the wrongs, and the hardships of the Negro race before the public. Some of these people do not want the Negro to lose his grievances because they do not want to lose their jobs. There's a certain class of race problem solvers who don't want the patient to get well." Okay? These people are Al Sharpton, Jesse Jackson, Obama, Hillary Clinton.
That's us.
And those, she's not a colored person.
That's us.
Right, herself. But these individuals push this racial narrative. And now it's gotten to a point where now that Black Lives Matter has become violent and has grown to a point where they don't feel that they can control it anymore, but they still are able to pull in the votes, right? They still keep them on that Democrat plantation so that they can collect votes. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, both use intimidation as a means to achieve political victory. Members who claim to be part of Black Lives Matter or who openly support Black Lives Matter have issued death threats to individuals who have spoken out against them. In particular, a lawyer who accused Black Lives Matter movement, President Obama, Hillary Clinton, and others for inciting a race war. This is found in The Hill. After filing the lawsuit on behalf of Dallas Police Sergeant Demetric Penny, lawyer Larry Klayman claimed that both he and his client have been subjected to threats. He is quoted as saying, "I'm concerned for my client's safety, Demetric safety, Sergeant Penny, and for myself," Klayman, a frequent legal nuisance to Obama, said on Wednesday. Well, that's not biased, huh? Anyways, so they use death threats against those who have serious legal claims against them, right? Just like the Klan. One particular sighting of the Klan threatening, sending death threats, especially to lawyers, comes out of the Chicago Tribune article dated December 8th, 1985, in Montgomery, Alabama, against Morris Dees. The article goes to say Morris Dees speaks with detachment about white supremacist threats to kill him. Quote, "I ain't had nobody come and point a gun in my face. Then, as he relaxed on a couch with a glass of wine in his living room, Dees says more seriously, "I owe my life to the FBI, at least up to now." Dees is a co-founder of the Southern Poverty Law Center, which has championed civil rights and anti-Ku Klux Klan cases. As such, Dees, a lawyer with the center, has been targeted by Aryan Nation and anti-black, anti-Semitic groups on a nationwide computer bulletin board. Number 3, both advocate for the deaths of political figures and dissenters. So, in July 11, 2016, an article came out that said, headline, Dallas police chief received death threats after gunman killed officers. So, the article states, Dallas police chief David Brown said that he and his family received death threats, quote, almost immediately after, unquote, a gunman fatally shot 5 police officers and wounded 9 others at a Black Lives Matter rally last week. Goes on to say, quote, we're taking them all as credible, whether they can be confirmed or not, end quote. So we all know about the shootings in Dallas. I showed the video last time, and so Black Lives Matter is responsible for the deaths of police officers. But then we compare this to an article by the New York Times, an event that occurred back in 1992. The New York Times article post from 1992 says, death of journalist who assailed Klan is mystery. The article states, Warren Dulier was enraged when the KKK came to town last year and set about wooing new members. So he slipped into a Klan rally with a hidden camera and a tape recorder, then published the pictures and the venomous speeches in his newspaper. Okay, so it goes on to say that he received tons of death threats. And then he was found shot in his garage not too long after. So you don't have to be the most famous and successful detective to figure out what the hell happened there. So the article then also states, a high-ranking Klan member has vehemently denied that the Klan had any role in Mr. Dulier's death. The local police say that Mr. Dulier may have been shot in an attempted burglary. Several firearms from his collection were found near the body, because that's what, burglars do, is they just kind of stack guns near the body that they killed during a home invasion, and then they leave. They just leave all the guns, because guns are, never, the number one stolen item from homes ever. And they are looking into the possibility that he killed himself. So on one hand, they thought, oh, it could be a burglary. On the other hand, he could have killed himself, because those don't leave two completely different, sets of evidence, right? Either somebody broke into his house and then didn't steal anything, and then they piled up all the guns around him, or he maybe killed himself, with all of his guns piled up around him, shot himself in the head. It definitely probably isn't all those death threats that he received. In the weeks leading up to that. No. Oh, but what do we have here? Black Lives Matter activist thanks the Dallas cop killer on Twitter. Black activist that called for the lynching and hanging of white people and cops 1 year ago just before the execution of a deputy in Harris County, Texas, is now thanking the man who took part in the ambush killings of 5 police officers in Dallas. But you know what? Those two, they're completely unrelated, right? There was a Black Lives Matter protest where they, are chanting, what do we want? Dead cops, when do we want it now? And things like, pigs in a blanket, fry 'em like bacon, right? And they all advocate for the murdering of police. But then when that actually happens, and they say, oh yeah, hell yeah, good for them, that is just, but then they pull the no true Scotsman fallacy and be like, oh well, you can't blame Black Lives Matter for the actual murdering of police officers, even though they advocate for the murdering of police officers, right? Another article from Breitbart shows a really lovely tweet from a very articulate individual, DJ Neo Da Vinci. Neo Da Vinci, interesting, okay, who said, feels good to see niggas knocking these pigs off. Yeah, but they've got nothing, but you know what, trying to say that the Black Lives Matter, who advocate for the murdering of, and this was in the Baton Rouge police officer shootings, right, there's no similarity here. No, okay, well, I might give them this one. There is no similarity. At least the KKK tried to deny that they had anything to do with the murders. Black Lives Matter supports it. All right, number 4, and this one should be blatantly obvious. Both use racially divisive rhetoric. So, International Business Times headline reports Black Lives Matter Maryland Twitter threat, kill all the white people. Tweet results in arrest. Thank God there's one, right? Police in Maryland announced Thursday the arrest of a black man who they said threatened on Twitter to kill all white people in the Charles County town of La Plata. Carlos Anthony Hollins, a 20-year-old resident of Waldorf, Maryland, has been charged with the threats of mass violence for allegedly sending the tweet Wednesday afternoon, according to police. So, on top of all of that, we also have Yusra Kogali, who famously is in charge of, who's an organizer for the Black Lives Matter in Toronto, right? She is a co-founder of Black Lives Matter Toronto. So all you no true Scotsman fallacies out there, you guys want to be like, oh, well, the guy who went out and shot those people, well, he wasn't really Black Lives Matter, or these people who say this stuff that they want to kill white people. That's not really Black Lives Matter. Well, here is the co-founder of Black Lives Matter chapter in Toronto who tweeted out, "Please Allah, give me strength to not kill these men and white folks out here today. Please, please, please." That was on February 9th, 2016 of this year. Thankfully, black guy in AV who posted, "I'm not going to stand for this no more. Tonight we purge, kill all the white people in the town of La Plata." Thankfully, somebody had the sense to arrest that individual. So, as far as the KKK, and I don't really feel like I have to go much further. I think that's pretty self-evident. I'm not going to post that. I think it's pretty evident that the KKK hates black people, Mexicans, Jews, who else? I mean, you name any group just about, and the KKK hates them.
I don't really have to say anything else about you, do I?
So I'm not going to go too further into that. Of course, I would think that it would be self-evident that the Black Lives Matter hates white people, but, maybe I do need to go into more detail. Who knows? But for the sake of this video and for brevity, I'm going to skip that for y'all. All right, so moving on to number 5. Both believe in segregation. That's right, segregation. Something that both Black Lives Matter and the KKK can agree on. Maybe they can come together in agreeing that there needs to be segregation. In one article by the collegefix.com titled "Black Students Demand Segregated Spaces from White Students" in January of this year, 2016, current year. It goes on to say, black students across the country have demanded that they be segregated from white peers, calling for, quote, safe spaces on campuses meant only for so-called students of color. Not to be confused with colored students or colored people or colored persons, because that would be racist. But if you put the "of" in there, not racist. It's magic. Don't think about it. Okay. So it goes on to say the requests for segregated spaces are found among some of the demand lists put forth by students who took part in protests this fall, alleging their campuses are oppressive, discriminatory, and represent institutionalized racism. Holy fuck. Like, how stupid can you be that you claim that the schools are discriminatory and represent institutionalized racism, so therefore they demand to be segregated from students that have a different skin color than them. Yeah, that's certainly not discriminatory at all. Wow. All right, so and then again, do I really have to go into the KKK wanting discrimination? I'm for brevity's sake, I'm not going to get into that, but I think that's self-evident. And lastly, but not least, number 6. Both use violence and the threat of violence to achieve political victory. Sure, you can kind of say this is a catch-all for, number 3 and number 2. They do use intimidation. They do advocate for death of political figures and such. But specifically when I say they use violence to achieve political victory, it's not so much that they, post tweets right? Like if they were just posting tweets and saying, hey, we're going to protest in the streets and close down businesses and disrupt everything until you get us what we want, I would say that that's intimidation. But when they actually go out and riot and destroy in Baltimore is $20 million worth of property damage, that's the use of violence and the threat of violence to achieve the political victory. The same thing occurred with the KKK when they used the burning of the crosses, not just burning crosses out in some field, right, which is considered to be hate speech now, but more specifically when they used the burning of the crosses, or would throw bricks or shoot at a house, an attempted assassination or intimidation. But that's more so using actual violence rather than, I would argue that intimidation is saying we're going to shut you down, we're going to block your stores, we're going to boycott you, we're going to do sit-ins until you give us what we want, versus actually going out and tossing bricks through windows as an attempt to actually cause violence, to conduct violence in an attempt to cause damages, both property and physical damages. So for those who are wanting to be nitpicky, kudos for that, but that would be my argument on that part. So those are 6 ways that Black Lives Matter is exactly the same as the KKK. They use the same tactics, the same techniques. We'll go through them real quick. Number 1, both started by the Democrat Party. Number 2, both use intimidation as a means to achieve political victory. Number 3, both advocate for the deaths of political figures and dissenters. Number 4, both use racially divisive rhetoric. Number 5, both believe in segregation. And number 6, both use violence and the threat of violence to achieve political victory. So that is exactly a point-for-point defense of Professor Muir and exactly why he was right in what he said. Okay, so let's real quick shift gears, and I wrote this up about the demonetization of my video. Okay, so YouTube first, they came out with these new policies to demonetize. They demonetized my video, and I was pretty pissed off. I kind of went after them originally when I started this video. I typed up a bunch of stuff that kind of shows how YouTube is still collecting ad revenue despite them demonetizing videos. So, for example, if you look at the statistics from the debates, this election cycle's debates, you're looking at Adweek's headline states, this year's presidential debate could bring in the biggest audiences ever, multi-million-dollar revenue night expected for ad sales. Okay, so YouTube's argument that if you talk about things that are controversial, it's not advertiser friendly, is the complete opposite. It's the complete opposite. You have individuals like Milo Yiannopoulos, Blair White, some black guy, and Paul Joseph Watson. Those are 4 individuals that I picked pretty much at random. They're people that I follow, but who specifically talk a lot about Black Lives Matter. Okay, I specifically picked them out. Okay, because they do talk specifically about controversial topics of Black Lives Matter. So let's look at this. Okay, Milo Yiannopoulos, as of this recording, has 333,000 subscribers and 37.2 million views. Let me say that again, 37.2 million views. Blair White, with 180,000 subscribers, has 9.9 million views. Some black guy with 83,000 subscribers has 3.9 million views. And Paul Joseph Watson with 584,000 subscribers has a whopping 133.6 million views. Okay, so please tell me, YouTube, how having critical politically charged opinions is a negative for your ad revenue. You're going to tell me that the combined total of 184.6 million views on your website is hurting your ad revenue? No. I think that YouTube is pocketing the ad revenue and just trying to quiet the growing social backlash to the violent rhetoric of a racist organization that is Black Lives Matter. But the greatest thing happened, folks, and I had to put this out there because this is great. So when I first got this response, I asked for specifics, And in the time of making this video, I got a response, folks, and I got to read this to you because it's just too good. So if you all remember, earlier in this video, I asked for specifics. And not only that, they highlighted specifically what was wrong with my video. And I appreciate that. I really do. Like, I'm very, very grateful for that. But I think that this nicely sums up exactly my point and everybody else's point about Black Lives Matter. Remember that in my original video, I posted video clips of Black Lives Matter. Violent video clips of them rioting, of them beating up innocent white people based solely on their race. That's the only reason why I mentioned they were white people, because they were racially targeting individuals based on their race, and they were attacking them. And you have Black Lives Matter. I posted clips of the murdering of police officers by the Black Lives Matter supporter in Dallas. And so I think YouTube really nicely sums up all of our points. And that is their response back to me, which states, "Hello, thanks for emailing the partner support team. Content that may be acceptable for YouTube under YouTube policies may not be appropriate for Google advertising. Google's program policies provide additional guidelines for what can be monetized, and advertisers also have their own standards and requirements for content. Content that is considered, quote, not advertiser friendly includes, but is not limited to," and they highlighted this specifically for my video. And first one highlighted says, "Violence, including display of serious injury and events related to violent extremism." Let me read that again. "Violence, including display of serious injury and events related to violent extremism, cannot be monetized." So let me get this straight, YouTube. You were admitting that Black Lives Matter, because those videos, the parts of my video that I included clips that were violent, parts that I embedded that were violent, you are admitting, YouTube, and thank you for your shining endorsement on this, agreeing that Black Lives Matter are violent extremists. Thank you, YouTube, for that. I greatly appreciate it. So there you have it, folks. Exactly why Black Lives Matter is the modern day KKK, the demonetization of my video, and YouTube's endorsement to our beliefs that Black Lives Matter is a violent extremist organization. We appreciate their shining endorsement on that. And until next time, I'll catch you guys later. Please make sure that you like and subscribe the video and share it as much as you can. I greatly appreciate all my subscribers. Even if I'm not getting money out of it, I really don't care. As long as you guys are enjoying the content, I'll keep making it. All right, have a good one. Cheers.